Well, we begin today with Syria, where deadly violence is escalating. The UN estimates the death toll now at over 6,000. And as the world watches clashing opinions about what to do about the rising tension that's ripping the country apart. Russia and China facing condemnation from the West and Arab states for their decision to veto a UN resolution on Syria. And as diplomatic efforts fail, a list is growing of countries pulling their ambassadors out of Syria. Yesterday, the U.S. shut down their embassy. The U.K. recalled its ambassador to Damascus. And today, Spain, France, Italy all pulled and called their ambassadors home. The United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Qatar, and Kuwait also took the measure. It's all aimed at putting pressure on the Assad regime. And while they want President Assad to step down, Russia and China refuse to choose sides. As the international community fails to come to a consensus on Syria, what's next for the country? RT's Marina Portnaya joins us live now from New York to bring us the latest on the conflict. Hi there, Marina. So despite condemnation from other countries for not backing the resolution for President Assad to step down, Russia and China are not caving into pressure. Why is that?
Well, there's many reasons for it, Liz, but one of the many reasons is the fact that Russia and China will not support any draft resolution or international push towards regime change. Both countries have stated over and over again that the Security Council should not be used as a tool to overthrow governments of sovereign states. And because a draft resolution on Syria was vetoed and there was no consensus reached on Saturday, we did see Russia's foreign minister and head of Russia's foreign intelligence service visit Damascus on Tuesday to personally meet with Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. That meeting proved to be successful in many ways because following the meeting, Foreign Minister Lavrov informed the press that President Assad has agreed to talks with the opposition groups. He has also agreed, according to Mr. Lavrov, to follow the Arab League's roadmap for increasing the number of observers in Syria. Also, President Assad has agreed to send a government delegation to Moscow, which would meet with representatives of the opposition group. Now, the Syrian National Council has agreed to allow Moscow to mediate the roadmap for dialogue between the two sides. This is an enormous positive sign, considering the kind of standoff that the dividing parties have had in Syria and the international community has had on reaching some type of consensus on how to approach the circumstance in a peaceful and fair manner. Now, Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, said that Moscow is committed to bringing peace and balance to Syria, but he also called on both sides of the conflict to immediately lay down their weapons and put a halt to the violence.
Our approach is based on a clear and simple goal: to stop civilian deaths. The region needs peace, Syria needs peace. It is clear that efforts to end the violence need to go along with the start of a meaningful dialogue between all political sides. Today, we've received confirmation from the Syrian president of his readiness to participate in that process. We will continue to work with various opposition groups, but anyone who has more influence on them than Russia should also work with them.
According to Russia's foreign minister, Syrian President Bashar al-Assad also has agreed to call a referendum shortly that would allow Syrians to vote on a new constitution and to hold parliamentary elections in the near future. So clearly, a lot of progress being made by the visits that were made by Russian officials to Damascus.
And Marina, I want to ask you, because as the death toll continues to rise there in Syria, and we are seeing these reports of the devastation in the country, these shocking images, could Russia be blamed for the bloodshed in Syria?
Well, I think certain members of the media, even certain diplomats, are positioning their story that way. We did hear the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Susan Rice, saying that because Russia and China both cast a veto on a resolution on Syria, the blood will be on their hands. And I'm sure a lot of experts may blame Russia, may blame China, but Russia and China will point to several examples, one being Libya. There was military intervention into Libya, one that the Security Council approved, one where the Western countries promised would bring peace and security. And now look at Libya. The fallout and the consequence has made Libya more unstable than it was before Colonel Gaddafi, the former leader, was removed and foreign intervention took place, military intervention took place. What Russia and China are saying, this is what they're saying, that governments cannot continue to be removed, disposed of when the international community decides they're no longer good for a country. This problem in Syria, specifically, Russia and China believe is up to the Syrian people to decide. And the responsibility of the international community is to help facilitate a fair and balanced decision that ultimately they say should be made by the Syrian people. It's a hard problem, though, Liz. It's not easy, clearly.
Well, Marina, thank you for keeping us updated there. That was RT correspondent Marina Portnaya.